Hey guys, Brian Hilliard here, author of the best-selling book Networking Like a Pro and creator of the popular program How to Get Higher Paying Coaching Clients Without Being Pushy. Now, I want to talk about something here real quick that has come up actually for myself. It's come up with some other folks who I've talked with about this, and it's the idea, it's a simple concept, okay? And the question is this: how do I know if I am chasing somebody versus just following up? Right? So like everybody knows, you've probably seen this, the first person who brought it to my attention, Brian Tracy, 80% of all new sales are obtained after the fifth contact. Okay? So everyone is okay with this notion of follow-up. But then also everybody, I think everybody realizes as a coach, you know, you've certainly probably been in this situation where you ever feel like you're just chasing somebody and you're like, what's going on with that? Why is it, you know, what's the difference? First of all, why am I chasing the person and how can I tell the difference? You know, for me, and I don't know if there's any real rock solid, you know, steadfast answer for this, but in my practice and kind of how I've thought about it, again, in my own personal experience, is the idea that when I find myself really engaging the right market, you know, I'm all about the niche market. When I'm all about engaging the right market with the right message, okay, either through my personal value proposition or, you know, my true product, we've talked about these terms before, you know, is the idea of what is it that people are actually buying from me, okay? When I'm talking to my niche market, the right product, the right people, with the right product or service, there's not a lot of convincing or chasing that goes on. You know, and I realized this, so I was on LinkedIn. You know, it's a big part of my game, generating, you know, business from LinkedIn. And one of the things I've realized is, so I'm connecting and I've got this like 5-part process for doing that, and we can get into that maybe another time. But I was in the, you know, engaging part of it, and I'm connecting with people like all the time there, right? And I'm in the engaging part of it, and it was interesting because when you have literally a dozen or 2 dozen messages in your inbox of people who are in your market and you're trying to kind of filter out where they are and what's going on, you know what happens? You don't have a lot of time or energy to try to convince somebody that they need to work with you. You know why? Because you're busy working with the others who immediately saw what you had and said, put me down. Now, I don't want to mislead you. I don't want to say that all of a sudden people are just falling into my client bed, you know, base or whatever, based off of LinkedIn. That's not like that, okay? But let me tell you what does happen. I'll connect with people, I'll invite them, I'll connect, I'll engage with them, I'll add value, and I'll make an offer. And through that process, what happens is people are like, oh yeah, you know what? That works for me. The ones who are like, well, I don't know, or start giving you one-word answers or one-sentence things, and you feel like you know what I do? I let them go. You know why? Because I don't have time for it. Okay, so if you find yourself in a situation where the people don't immediately raise their hand after you've engaged them, then a few things are off base, okay? Either you're not talking to the right people, you're not communicating the right message, or the message that you're talking to them about isn't a pain point that they're currently feeling. All right. And if you feel yourself chasing people or having to convince people versus good old-fashioned follow-up. So let me give you an example. Follow-up is I'm talking to somebody and they say, hey, listen, I'm on vacation next week. Can you get back with me the week after and we can continue this conversation? That's not a problem. And then you follow up to make sure that that happens. Chasing or convincing is when you're, hey, you know, you're getting one sentence answers, or they're not even, a lot of times, you know, here's another telltale sign for people that I've found. If you find yourself working with a prospective client, somebody who you think should be a good client, but they haven't really actually stepped back and asked you a question yet, right? I really watch that. If I'm talking to somebody, I could think they're a great client or a great prospect, but if they don't actually take a second to ask me a question, if they don't actually take a second to try to say, okay, that's interesting, Brian, tell me how you do it, then they don't think that I can help them right now, or they're not open to getting help. Either way is fine, but it's not worth me spending more time trying to convince, cajole, or connive them working with me. All right, so if you find yourself chasing a lot of folks, if you find yourself convincing a lot of people, take a look at your message, take a look at your audience, take a look at how you're communicating that to people, because follow-up is when you're engaging them, moving the ball forward, but you still understand what it is that they're looking for, you still understand what the problem is, they have still asked you for help, and you're just following up to try to nail down, the situation. Versus convincing is they haven't told you what the problem is, they haven't asked you for help, you just think that they're a good prospect or a client and you haven't moved forward, and you're constantly running them down from that. Okay, so I hope that helps you kind of demystify that a little bit. Like I said, that came up with me about a couple of weeks ago and I've been meaning to do something. So I hope that works for you and I hope that makes a lot of sense for you. But in the meantime, my name is Brian Hilliard saying so long, take care, and thanks so much for your time.